not as witchy as something like this.
It's gonna be fun. Okay. Are y'all good? I will. What is up, GalaxyCon, Oklahoma City? That was the hottest mic that I've ever started a talk with. Oh my goodness, I just bursted all y'all's eardrums. How is everybody today? This is our first time here in Oklahoma City, and I've got to say, the city's okay. Oh, just kidding. It's such a great city. I'm having a wonderful time. Are y'all having fun so far? It's just the beginning of the weekend. Well, I want to thank y'all so much for joining us at this early-ish panel in the weekend, and I know that we have wonderful guests back there, excited to meet and speak with you all. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce the cast of Blue's Clues. It's Steve Burns, Donovan Patton, and Josh De La Cruz. Thank you so much for joining me today, gentlemen.
What's up?
Thank you for being here all the way in Oklahoma City.
Thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I know that you have been here before. In Richmond, you sang Oklahoma City's praises, actually. Steve loves Oklahoma City.
I have been, are you, most of you from the city? I have been coming to the city for 25 years, and I absolutely love it here, and I feel like I've watched it grow so much because it was so different 25 years ago, and I always say, and I mean this, most of the nicest people I've ever met in my life are from Oklahoma, and that is true.
But he says
Except
it at me.
for you.
Oh, yeah.
Present company included.
Yeah. I was going to say, he normally says it at me. He's like, you know what? People think you're nice. All the people that I know that are nice are actually from Oklahoma. And then he just stares at me.
You're not from Oklahoma.
Have y'all been here before? It's your first time?
Yeah, first time.
Are you going to show them around, Steve? Tell them some good food places?
I am. So we want to go. There's so many new restaurants here. It's crazy. Like you can't get to all of them. But we just had some amazing pho, and we might try to go to Madère and maybe Cheevers. You guys like Cheevers? You remember that place? Is it still there? Yeah.
Named after John Cheever, the author?
You know what? We'll go to RJ's Supper Club.
Okay.
That's a fun place too.
Oh.
I have to write all these
Table
down.
for...
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 60, 70, I think.
Yeah.
I think they can accommodate. So I actually forgot to say, everyone, we have some rules for our Q&As. I'm going to go ahead and go through the rules, unfortunately. They are not horrible rules, but first of all, the first one is one question, please. These gentlemen will be at their booths if you happen to have multiple questions, and they would love to see you there. Rule number 2 is no requests. As much as I would love for y'all to sing happy birthday to me or try my family's hot sauce. Oh, stop it. No, I even have to follow the rules too. And then rule number 3 is be courteous to the people behind you. There's going to be a lot of people that have questions, so make sure that you keep your questions short and concise. 1-part questions only, please. And then rule number 5 is have fun. So if anybody would like to go ahead and line up for questions, that would be great and amazing. So we have Steve as Steve. We have Josh as Josh. And we have Donovan as Joe. How did that happen? Was it your choice? Did you choose Joe?
It was not my choice.
Oh.
When I was up for the job, it was going to be Joe no matter what.
Oh, really?
There was a vote around the office. Everybody from like script supervisors, animators, like people doing art. They voted on what name they thought would be best because, like Steve being Steve at the time, there was a confusion as to who was Steve and who was Steve Burns.
Yes.
There still is. And,
yes. It has to be confusing.
And he's not his name largely because I kind of like said, please don't do that to him. You
That
know,
makes
it
sense.
is interesting, but there's kind of a Fred Rogers paradigm in children's television. Fred Rogers created Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. It was his passion. That was actually his ministry. He was that show. He embodied that in every possible way. And that, obviously, is the gold standard of hosted children's television. And because my name is Steve Burns and my name was Steve on the show, people to this day kind of assume that I filled sort of the Fred Rogers role of Blue's Clues. And I was just an actor who fell backwards into that show. And that did create a little bit of an identity crisis in my life that I still, like, you know, kind of deal with a little bit because of that. And so I was like, dude, don't use your name. Don't use your name. And then Josh came along. He's like, I'm going to use my name.
Well,
You
and I
get a
can't
choice.
you had the choice, right?
I had the choice. I had the choice.
Did you actually have a choice?
Yeah.
Oh,
'cause
that's
they,
awesome.
They were like, all right, so Steve was Steve, Donovan was Joe, and we really liked Josh, but the other name was going to be Ben.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it was either going to be Ben or Josh, and I've said it before, like, it's a character I play, but it's so much a part of me, and who I aspire to be, just on the regular basis, and so Josh just felt right.
I thought the name was supposed to be Alphonse Squandiliando.
Yes, that was high up in the running.
Yeah.
I like it.
Easy
It's
to
fancy. It's fancy. And it's not a one syllable. You know, I thought they wouldn't let you be Donovan because they were like one syllable names
That was
only.
also it. That was also right. It was too hard for kids to say.
That makes
But
sense.
I think little kids could say Dono.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Dono, will you help me?
Steven.
Yes, Dono, we will help you.
Do you know? I don't know.
Oh my God, that
I
would be
don't
great.
know.
I don't know.
Would you choose a different name now? If you had to go back, would you be like, I want to be Alfonso? Or
Alphonse
what name would it
Squandiliando.
be?
I would want to be Robespierre McDracula.
Ooh, I like it. I like it. I think kids could definitely say that one for sure. Yes. My favorite character is Robespierre.
McDracula.
McDracula. Don't forget the McDracula. Did you ever think well, Josh, you're still doing the show, obviously.
We filmed our final season, and it's like one of the best jobs I've ever. I like talking about falling backward into a role. I never thought that I would ever want to be in children's television ever. Not that Mr. Rogers or that these fine gentlemen didn't inspire me to do it. I just had different interest at the time.
You were in theater, right?
I was in theater,
okay.
yeah. So I was doing Aladdin in New York City, and I didn't know what I wanted to do next. I knew that I needed a change, and when this came along, after every callback, I got this sinking feeling in my stomach, that this feeling of dread that, like, oh no, you want this. And it's only dread because, like, you know, the more and more you audition for the same thing, you have to be, like, vulnerable, and you have to get your hopes up to believe the thing that you're saying. And so you're, in turn, you're emotionally attached to the material. And so it always takes a little bit, whenever you don't get it, which isn't often. It always takes
Most
a
of the
little
time.
bit. Most of the time.
Yeah, almost all.
You know, you have to shake it off a little bit, so you deal with that failure, which is a wonderful practice. But I remember feeling at the end of that whole thing, I told Sharon, my wife, I was like, I don't want to say that I want it because I want it really bad. And it did not disappoint.
Good. You didn't say it out loud and it didn't jinx it. You got it. Yeah, it's amazing. And you do a great job.
Thank you.
It's wonderful. Well, I was going to say, you're still doing it, but did y'all think so many years later you'd be on a Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade float, dancing around and being in your original shirts so many years later?
No.
My outfit that day, I thought I looked like stylish Grimace.
You did. I'm glad they
Yeah.
chose the purple.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, if Grimace decided to be an artful bank robber. Yeah.
It's the preschoolers, Powerpuff Girls.
Funny story about that very day, though. You end up performing on 34th Street, right? At about, as you're traveling south, so like at about 40th Street, I realized I forgot the lyrics to the song.
Oh no.
And we have to like, we know there's gonna be cameras on us, and so like we're supposed to be waving, we're like smiling, waving, and I was like, hey, does anybody know my lines for the song? Do you know my words? Because I don't. And then like, I think at like 36th or 37th Street or something like that, they were like, oh yeah, it's this one. And so basically, they saved me from embarrassing myself.
You gotta do the watermelon trick, where you're like, watermelon, watermelon. Yeah, well, I wouldn't do it. I would
sing a
learn
song.
your words first.
Sing a song and I'll just watermelon.
Okay, finally it's happened to me right in front of my face. You're such a good singer, Steve.
Did it work?
Wow. Keep that in your pocket for the next time you're on a Macy's Thanksgiving Day float and you forget your lines.
Well, to answer your original question, because I was the first one, I didn't think the show was going to work at all. Like, at all. I thought it was cool, and I thought it was very, like, anti-television television. I used to call it the Rocky Horror Children's Show because it was so interactive, and I loved the connect to the camera thing, and I loved, like, all children's television really talks to the camera, but we were listening to the camera, and I was like, that's pretty breakthrough. This is a smart show. I didn't think it was going to work. I was like, this is too weird. Kids are not going to try to help me find stuff. Like, this isn't going to work. And then it totally did.
Kids want to help you find stuff.
Right, yeah. And so no, I never... And even when it aired and we were like immediately like beating Sesame Street and all this stuff, I still didn't really understand the impact that we had until much later, you know, until y'all grew up, really. That's when I was like, oh my goodness, we did a thing. We're part of the conversation with like Grover and LeVar Burton and all these people that I admire. Like we're in that conversation, and you know, I just cherish that so much.
That's awesome. I definitely think that Mr. Rogers, LeVar Burton, y'all especially, and Sesame Street are all in the same realm when you think the
That
kid
is
show
high
goes
praise.
transcends.
Thank you.
Well, I don't want to keep asking. I have a million questions for y'all, but I know our audience has a ton of questions too. You can go right ahead. Go ahead and introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hello, I'm Nolan. My question is for Steve.
What's up, man?
What was it like passing the torch for the next generations of Blue's Clues?
That's a great question. Thank you. I was pretty nervous about it when I was leaving the show and it was time for him to show up. And we auditioned like 1 million people. And not a lot of people could do it. It's weird. It's weird. People tend, I think, to have a preconception of what children's television should sound like and be like. And they don't really bring their A game, is what I've noticed. They just kind of, you know, and he showed up and he did his audition as Christopher Walken. And I was like, oh, I love him. Can we have him, please, him. And we just immediately got along. And I knew that it was going to be fine, you know, but I'll be honest, and we've kind of talked about this, when it was way later and they were rebooting Blue's Clues, that's when I was like, wait, I got to be there for that. What? Huh? Like I got really like this has to be perfect. This has to be perfect, you know.
And you were perfect, Josh.
And he showed up and he was ready to go on day one. It was like, if that guy's ready to start work tomorrow, you know. So it was. I was nervous both times. I don't know how you felt about when Josh took your role, but I was nervous both times. But both times I was immediately like, we're gonna be fine because these guys are great.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi there. What's your name?
Hello, I'm Dallas Byers. This is my wife, Brittany. I've got a question, I guess, for all three. Like Mary Poppins or Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's these real people acting with animated characters. I have no idea what that's like, but for y'all, was there a Miss Salt? Was there actually Blue there? Was there a dog or like a green screen person pretending they were there? How did that work as far as working with cartoons?
Well, that depends on which host you ask. But
Yeah, that evolved over
changed.
time as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, no, when I did it, we had nothing. And by the time we got to Josh, yeah, he had all that stuff. Like, he had people in green suits and everything.
The people in green suits were not there so much as eyeline as they were to like move me around. I remember like they had me up in wires for a couple of episodes, and so it was like an all hands on deck situation because we don't typically do that type of thing, or at least during like when I first started.
Skidooing is getting more dangerous.
It's getting more dangerous, y'all. You gotta be careful what you jump into.
Always.
Yeah.
And,
Skidoo with a buddy.
Yeah, skidoo with a buddy always. Tell people where you're skidooing to.
And also, please remember that it was always conditional. Blue Skidoo, then you can too. She opens the portal, and if she doesn't do that first, you're gonna smash your head into the coffee table.
But don't do it, is what we're saying. Don't
Yeah.
do it. It's it can be dangerous. But we had green people to like move us around, and that was a very entertaining day on set.
People dressed in green.
People dressed
The
in
people
green.
are not green. We should clarify.
That's right. People wore those like morph suits.
Yeah.
With the head and like the screen, and so that was a very funny day. Just because like we can't look at them, but you can't not look at them. It's like. But no, it's typically like I got like a cutout of Blue for the first season, and then like they had like tiny little like blocks for me, and then eventually those all went away. And yeah, I definitely had it easier, but I mean I stand on the shoulders of giants, like you know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
And your screen couldn't have been green because you had a green shirt.
I was on a blue screen.
Yeah.
Because my shirt was green.
It's all very different.
It's a very specific color of blue that you use to do chroma key and stuff. And it's actually a really beautiful color. I felt very lucky. It was kind of like this color, and it was very pleasant. And I would walk onto their set, and they had this like angry electric green color. It's like, ah.
With men in green suits running around.
Right.
All right, what's your name and what's your question?
Hi, my name is Dan. Steve, you saw me at.
I just met you 10 minutes ago. How have you
Oh
been?
my God! And what a 10 minutes it's been. So. This is the best day of my life right now. So I wanted to ask you, Mr. McDracula, and then Donovan Patton and Alphonse Quandiliondo.
Hey, thank you.
I was rehearsing it in my head. So I wanted to ask, this question is pointed towards Steve, but I wanted to ask this to all of you collectively, because it would be a good question for all of you. I promise you. So, Steve, do you have like you've gone on record in other interviews saying that you are quite introverted. You live very comfortably in a very secluded lifestyle. You like to that's your downtime. Is there like when you go into work for the show, do you ever like does it take a second to like enter that mindset where you're ready to just tackle it? And does it take like a mantra and like do you like is there any sort of like mantra that you need to like take a moment to like okay, I'm ready to do this? Like what does that process, if it's there, look like for you?
Thank you for your question, Dan. Thank you for calling me Mr. McDracula.
You are so welcome.
I did enjoy that.
It's an honor.
Yeah, I am a pretty introverted guy. I think a lot of actors are. I know you are.
Yeah.
He is
That blows
less.
my mind.
He is less so.
Not so much.
But and yeah, Blue's Clues, the Steve energy is very much a part of me, but it's not one that I walk around with, you know. And you know, I was in every take of every shot every day, starting at like 7:45 a.m. You know, so I had to like deliver that. Did I have a process for that? I don't know that I had. I certainly didn't have a mantra or a process. But what I would do to become Steve is connect to an innate childlike sense of wonder. Right? Because that Steve was always saying that. Like, I wonder where it is. I wonder. And that sense of wonder includes a sense of play. It includes a sense of joy. It includes a sense of searching. All the stuff that we need for that job. and I would click it on. I'd show up, and then I would find that thing that like, ooh, right? Like your arms go out like you're about to catch something wonderful. Like, oh. And if I could connect to that, then I felt like I could connect to the camera and ultimately connect to you, right? So that was about as much process as I got. And, because there were times when we would get tired on set, and, it'd be hard to, like, always find that joy and whatever. But it was about clicking into that innate sense of wonder that we're all born with, right? It's a superpower we're all born with. So that's about as technique-y as I got with it.
I learned to be on time.
Eventually.
I'm
Eventually.
still learning that.
If it hadn't been a circumstance, no, this is true. It's important to be on time. It really is. And this is something I learned. Because if I hadn't been the only actor on set, like when you're in every shot of every take, when it's your time to do the thing, I would have been fired.
Yep.
Completely. I was very irresponsible, and so I learned to grow up. And eventually, I think was it Jeremy Slutskin? Not grow up completely, but in that sense of it, because acting-wise, it's the total opposite. I learned to basically just go for it, and try to not even think about myself much at all, except for where my mark is or something like that. But I was sat down at one point, and they were like, "If you're not here, no one can work." And that's a very particular circumstance, but it's also important to be because when you're on set, you're part of a team. And I wasn't respecting that part of the team, because I was just being young and dumb, is the word for it? Yeah.
It wasn't that bad, man.
Yeah. It was bad.
He was a joy to work with.
Yeah, I was never crabby or whatever on set, but I was irresponsible. And so at some point I learned to actually hold up my end of that teamwork.
Yeah, I think I'm also with Steve in I'm very introverted. I'm a very introverted person. Even getting a phone call from a dear friend or a text message gives me anxiety. For no other reason. I'm like, what if I run out of things to talk about? And I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Like, the only person that I don't feel anxious about whenever I get a phone call or text is my wife. And I have one person, and that's it. So before I get to work, or before even coming here, I get a lot of anxiety. I'm very introverted. I love to communicate and express myself in acting, and so that's why I do it. Like, being famous is not really interesting to me. It's terrifying. And so, but I love being part of a team, and I love being part of a community. And, I was fortunate enough to work with wonderful people, and that made me so excited to show up to work every single day. I felt so safe to play and make mistakes, and that, if we didn't get it, then we'll do it again, and we'll have fun. And learning to play is something that I learned from watching these two work. Yeah.
Can I finish by saying you guys are the reason I'm learning sign language? So
wow.
Thank you, very, very, very sincerely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dan. And it's Mr. McDracula, not Count McDracula, right? I just want to be sure, but the title.
You look amazing.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Or wait, if I can get.
That was it. That was
A
the
very good has-been cosplay.
Yeah.
And there's a mask too, but hold on.
That's
It's so much fun
amazing.
to do.
Oh,
Wow.
here it comes.
That is so
I'm not gonna put it on
badass.
though because I have my headphones on.
Oh, I don't have
Okay.
Very cool.
What's your name, by the way?
Yeah.
My name is Finley. Hold on, let me put these in so I don't hit anybody.
Smart. Wing awareness. Wing awareness is key.
You, Finley?
Do you see
Yes.
the red cord?
Yeah.
Pull it, please.
I know that trick.
There we
Otherwise,
go.
she'll just fly to the left.
Be stuck in a circle.
Okay, so my question, maybe an ick kind of question. When and why did you guys switch from letters to email? Was that because to connect with the newer generation? Because it made me a little bit sad that there wasn't a letter anymore.
Just got an email.
That's fair.
So the youth of today, why don't people write letters anymore?
That's right.
My handwriting is
I'm with you,
awful,
Finley,
so.
100%.
I learned how
Yes.
to write a letter in elementary school. So.
Exactly, yeah. You dress it. Yeah. I don't
No,
know.
I think that was, you're exactly right. It's to bridge the gap of like, oh, this new generation is, email is something that everybody is part of everyone's life now. And even looking back to my grandmother when she was alive, like, man, she saw some things. Like, like radio up until like FaceTiming family, her grandkids in the Philippines. Like, that's the amount of technology that happened in that period of time, in that lifetime. And so making the choice to move to email was definitely something I know that I feel like was a huge deal for me. I was like, oh, we're doing email. But we never got rid of letters completely. But I do agree with you. There's something really beautiful about the letters. Every letter that we have on the show is handmade. And everything is paper cutout. So it's not just a printed stamp. It's the outline of the stamp, and then another piece of paper on top of that, and then another piece of paper on top of that, and so on and so forth. So they're incredibly beautiful pieces of art. And whenever we get them, it's always wonderful. But I agree with you. I do love the letter.
And yeah, because nobody ever gets like, oh, I just got this letter from a Nigerian prince
That's right.
trapped outside of his country.
That's
That's too much effort. You have to send too many of them. It's not cost effective.
Part of the actual mission statement of Blue's Clues is to communicate to preschool children at their level of understanding with no condescension, right? That's really at the heart of it. And I have a feeling if it was up to Angela, who created the show, she would have been like, email only. That's what kids know.
But
we want
mailbox.
to talk to kids. But then there was also a sense of we want to preserve what the legacy of the show was and what the conventions of the show are and what felt good also to parents. So I think they found a nice balance there.
I haven't heard. I assume somebody out there has probably like set their phone alert to be like mailbox going like meow, like
All the time. They
Yeah,
play-
like a
they
text.
play it, yeah, all the time.
like yeah.
I will
Love
say
that
though, I
preview
like
to email.
how they still kept the notebook and made it the phone on the other side.
Yeah.
That's really cool. So
I mean,
that
I
we
have
still
a
got to
notebook
keep it.
with me, not the notebook. I had to check that at the door. I have to sign that out. But I always have like a notebook with me just because I like to write down notes.
It's a tough technology to beat, by the way.
Yeah.
Paper and pen. That's a tough technology to beat.
Yeah.
She's doing it. Look.
I am.
She's got a
Ta-da.
handy dandy notebook.
I do, right here.
Anyway, thank you for your question.
Thank you for
Thank you
your
for that.
question. My dear, what's your name?
Hi, my name is Ashley, and my question's to all three of you guys. What's a life lesson that you learned from Blue's Clues that you actually still use in your life today?
Oh, I got one.
You got one? Okay.
This is going to be very corny. But you use your mind, you take a step at a time, and you can do anything. And so now, like, I'll get overwhelmed, or, and I'll be like, all right, if you're nervous or you're afraid of doing something, like, not working on it is not going to help you. And so does that mean that you have to practice, or that you have to look at it, or play with it and try to figure it out? So just take it one step at a time. You don't have to be good at something right off the bat. You just have to start and just like take baby steps, take deep breaths, and do what you need to do so that you can be like, okay, well, that was a little bit better. And then take a deep breath and try it again. And then sooner or later, you're like, oh, no, this wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And actually, it's very enjoyable. And so that's something that helps me every single day.
I would say it's not so much, it's the act of listening, that listening is important, which is not something that I do naturally. I will tend to fill up the space, or like I always try to crack a joke or whatever, or I'll just talk right through any situation so as to not feel any kind of uncomfortable silence that happens at any point in time whatsoever, and I'm just gonna keep going. It's nice to take a beat and listen, and especially if you're dealing with somebody else, to hear what it is that they have to say, what it is that they need, what it is that they have to contribute. A lot of times the true communication is the space in between all the noise.
It's very good. Very good.
Steve taught me a lot, and the older I get, the more I realize. I could spend an hour telling you what Steve taught me, but he taught me one thing in particular that changed my life, and that is that it is very okay to ask for help. we're talking about being an introvert and things like this, and I don't mind talking about this, but while I was on Blue's Clues, the entire time I was struggling with severe clinical depression. And I didn't know. I didn't know that's what was going on, right? But you can imagine that that would make going to work very hard when your job is to be the happiest person in North America every day, and you don't feel that way, you know. And I knew that I had a really good thing going on. And so I fought that feeling. I just fought it. I fought it and fought it and fought it. But you don't fight depression, you collect it. And so I just collected that for years and years and years and years until it got really heavy, and it got too heavy, and it got to be too much. And that's when I remembered to do what Steve did in every single episode, which was to stand right in front of someone and look at them right in the eye and ask, will you help me? Right? And that was the most transformative act of my life. And it has nothing to do with weakness. It is, in fact, a confrontational act of courage to do it. And so I take every opportunity when someone asks me this to say that if you are someone for whom things are too heavy, ask for help. Talk to somebody. Take that step. There's help out there. You know? So, yeah, that's what Steve taught me.
That was a great question
Thank
with
you.
great responses. Thank you. We have about 7 minutes left, so we're going to try and get through as many questions as we can. But if we can't get through all of them, they will be at their booths all weekend, and they
One-word
would
answers. One-word
love
answers
to
only.
see
Quicker.
y'all.
I'll be faster.
All right, my dear, what's your name?
Hi, my name's Emily. So as soon as I got in here, I texted my family like, "Oh my God, Steve!" My mom was like, "Blue's Clues, Steve," and I was like, "Blues Clues, Steve."
Kinda.
Kind of. And then all my older siblings were like, "Steve," and my younger sisters were like, "Is Joe there?" And then my brother said that his son was like, "Is Josh there?"
That's awesome.
And that just like made me think like how
so cool.
I know. But that brings my question about what does it mean to you guys to be so influential, spanning so many generations, and do you like want to keep that legacy going as long as you can?
Oh gosh. New guy? Yeah. I'm very humbled by it because like I feel like I personally get a lot of the gratitude because of the nature of the show, but there's so many people that work on the show that literally care about nothing else when they're working on the show. They're so passionate about it. The researchers, the animators, the many directors, all the people in marketing, everybody that is thinking about the show just cares about kids. And I've never felt that more than when working on this job. And so I'm very humbled to be a part of this legacy that you know, these two amazing gentlemen have created, along with the countless people behind the scenes who will never ever hear a thank you. So I'm just really humbled by it.
I feel like I don't even still have a full grasp. That's what's kind of awesome about being here, is I get to hear the individual stories of like, you know, because you're in someone's home. Like, you know, we're in people's homes where, you know, that's such a gift, and sometimes it feels like a responsibility. It's very heavy. It's very complicated. But you know, yeah. So I don't know if I fully understand the full weight of it, but it's an honor. It's a privilege.
I agree with Dono on that. Like it's actually hard to get your arms around that idea, you know. But when I do get a whiff of it, when I do think I accommodate that for a second, it just feels so special. Like that's the right word. It feels like a special thing. To think like we started talking, like many of you in this room who watched me when you were little kids, we started a conversation like 20 some years ago, and we're still doing that. And that's amazing to me. And that just feels so special to be part of something, as you said, that's cross-generational. That's pretty rare in media, you know? And I just feel like what these guys said, especially like what Josh said. I mean, we're just the faces of the show, but we're small parts of a large machine, and we're just really lucky dudes to be entertaining you and your brother and your
All of them,
all
everyone.
of them. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for helping make all of our childhoods so special.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Daniel. Good to meet you guys. And first off, Josh, as a fellow Filipino, ¿cómo está? You know,
Mabuti.
yeah. So my question is, if you guys weren't the hosts of Blue's Clues, which characters would you have liked to have voiced?
Great question.
Oh boy.
Voice.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's gonna be the same.
Well,
He's the best.
maybe on 3.
He's the best one.
1, 2, 3.
Mr. Salt.
He is the best for sure.
Mr. Salt. I always imagined him walking around saying, what is life? Where are the clues? Do we never see them? They are so obvious to everyone but us. What does this mean? You know, I just imagined him like having this rich introspective life, you know.
He also has a private jet in his
And
cupboard.
he has a jet. Who
Yeah.
knew? I didn't
Jet.
know.
Yeah. I dated Mrs. Dash in college.
What happened to Mrs. Dash? She's married now, obviously. She was Miss Dash when I knew
Miss
her.
Dash. Spicy life.
Thank you so much for your question.
question.
Thank you guys.
I think we have time for one more quick question, and then we will probably need to wrap up. So go right ahead.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Toyo.
Hey, Toyo.
Hello. And so, quick question. So, what is the specific Blue's Clues memory that holds a special place in your heart? And what is your biggest Blue's Clues regret?
Biggest Blue's Clues regret.
That's 2 questions.
All right. What?
Pick one.
That's a lot of
The
questions.
first question was,
What is your favorite Blue's
Well-
Clues memory and your biggest Blue's Clues regret?
I love my dog and Blue. I love Blue, but I love my dog Ollie so much. And Ollie is he was on set with me like most of the time, especially in pre-COVID. And so there are some scenes where he's hiding in the shot.
That's true.
Yes, and so any day on set with Ollie is like the best day ever. Biggest Blue's Clues regret? Not playing more.
All right. When I first aired, we had rented out a sports bar because there were televisions all over the place. And sitting next to me when I first showed up on television as Joe was my 6-year-old little sister. Annabelle. And so I got to basically just watch her, like, you know, she was sitting next to me, and then like I came on screen and she was like, you know, and she just like went with it. It was great. She just accepted it. Like, what? How? What? Yeah, what? And my biggest regret, I think we covered earlier, was just how irresponsible I was when I first did it. But, you know, but I got over that. I learned.
Clocks are circles and not squares.
Dude, I was once given an alarm clock as a birthday present. It was that bad.
It was that bad. I have
You know
so
what?
many
It's okay.
great memories of Blue's Clues, but my most recent great memory of Blue's Clues is I was fortunate that I got to write some episodes for him, and I got to direct them and stuff. And whenever I would do that, I would always write him into it because I love him. And I'd be like, we got to fly Donovan to New York to be in an episode. And we did an episode where the 3 of us were we had to do like a dance at the end and everything. And everyone just left us. Everyone just left us alone. And it was just the 3 of us being good at Blue's Clues together, and just being on the screen. Go, no, you do this and you do that. And I was like, damn, this is really great. This is great, man. Like, we're working together as brothers, and like, it was so fun for me. Like, that was such a great moment. That was my favorite, and my biggest regret is I was really, like I said, like I was like way up in my head about Blue's Clues when I was on the show, and I felt all that depression made me feel like I was unqualified to do the show, and so I was really like neurotic about everything, and I took it really seriously, and I wish I could just go back and just embrace it and just love it for the gift that it was, you know.
Well, I think everybody would agree y'all all have done an amazing job as the hosts of Blue's Clues. Am I right? Yeah. Unfortunately, go ahead.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Donovan. Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry.
Oh
Go
yeah, so
ahead.
just one thing. So I can relate to being an introvert as well. Actually, when I was a kid, I would hardly talk. I would hardly like really do anything. until I started imitating you, Steve,
No.
like on Blue's Clues. So just big shout out to Blue's Clues to
Yes.
just helping me get out of my shell and be someone that's a part of this world. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for
Well,
being here,
thank you
Tyler.
so much.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have today, but y'all are going to be at your booths all weekend. Thank you for having me. Yes.
Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you, Witchy.
One more time, everyone, give them a big round of applause for Steve Burns, Donovan Patton, and Josh De La Cruz. We will see you for the rest of the weekends. And make sure you watch the new season of Blue's Clues when it comes out. Oh, is it okay if we take one big stage selfie? All right, everybody, come on up. We're going to take one big stage selfie, one big photo. Maybe we can Photoshop Blue in it. And we're going to turn. And we're going to look right this way. I think we might have to squat, yeah. Yes, right across the floor.
If you can see me, I can see you. On the count of 3. Ready? All right, on the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3.